For the first time in 224 days, I can officially say welcome to the Burgundy and Gold pregame show on 106.7 The Fan and the Team 980. He is Lynnell Willingham. I am Denton Day, and Lynnell, for the first time in 224 days, we get to see Jayden Daniels play real, meaningful football. We kick off in about 2 hours from Northwest Stadium, and hopefully putting the beat down on the New York Giants. How are you, my friend? Are you amped up?
You know how I get. As we get closer and closer to kickoff, my emotions will change several different times. I was just screaming in the bullpen, they got to stop the run, they got to stop the run. But no, overall, happy. It's going to be a raucous environment. We found out Wednesday is going to be a sold-out crowd. Mr. 8 to the 9 day, one of our childhood heroes, getting honored this afternoon, talking about Santana Moss. It's I'm ready to go, and I'm first team all vibes. Let's get it rocked.
First team all vibes. If you're watching us on YouTube, hang out with us in the chat. If you're listening to us on radio, take a screenshot. If you're at the game, I want to see it. Send us a selfie on Twitter at NELL_BTP at the Denton Day for myself. So Jayden Daniels playing is obviously the big caveat, Lynnell. But when you look back at this offseason for the Commanders, the biggest storyline was not lawsuits. It wasn't a bastard of an owner. It was instead the contract of Terry McLaurin, but he's here. Got the contract done, and he's gotten 2 weeks to practice, to ramp up, to be ready to go for today. How do you think Terry does? Because he's been the big storyline, right? It hasn't been about how good this team was last year. It was about, is the number one wide receiver going to be good to go?
Yeah, first and foremost, happy that he's here. There were times during this offseason where I had real doubts and reservations about his availability for week one, but ultimately, like you said, they got the contract done. I'm curious to see whether or not he's on any sort of pitch count. I know Dan Quinn and company have kind of said that no, that's not going to be the case, and that he is ready to go. But to your point, like, he's massive to this offense. I've always felt like, they needed him more than he needed them, just because of what he means to them from an X's and O standpoint, being that vertical threat, that stresses defenses. But I'm happy to see him out there this afternoon. In terms of expectations, I don't know. We kind of had these conversations last year, and Jayden Daniels has been extremely vocal about it, Denton. He is going to go where coverage dictates in terms of the football.
Right.
Like, he's not going to force feed a guy that's not in his nature, it's not in his DNA. So we'll see where the game plan, I guess, Denton, takes the football here this afternoon. I expect to see a lot of Deebo Samuel, a lot of Austin Eckler, and a lot of Zach Ertz here to start.
That'll be a very interesting conflict.
Yeah.
And I say conflict because on the other side, you're taking on Malik Neighbors, and he's going to get thrown to about 20 times. And he's a legit wide receiver one. Terry is, of course, a legit wide receiver one. Selfishly, I hope that Terry comes out and has an elite performance. He's never going for 150 and a couple of touchdowns. I'd love that to be the case today. But also, you look outside, we got a window right beside me. You can see out that window. Rain is coming down.
Yeah, it is.
Now, Doug Hammer said that it's going to clear up by kickoff. Theoretically, it should have cleared up by now. But rain is coming down. I'm curious as to how that's going to impact the game plan for Washington. We know they want to run the football.
Yeah.
That is a priority for them, so I'm curious to see how the weather impacts that.
For sure, and then to take it a step further, because the ball is going to be a little slick, a little wet, ball security, right? Dealing with that in the first week of the season isn't fun, is what I would imagine as a player. And then when you think about this offense in particular, Jayden Daniels not getting a whole lot of work during the preseason. So I already expected them to look a little clunky right out of the gate just because of the lack of time on task together. You didn't see Terry McLaurin during camp. You didn't see Noah Brown. So I don't know, man. I feel like, and you were mentioning the hit that I think it was Jamie Erdahl did in the locker room.
Yeah, the NFL Network is going kind of viral on social media. And what she's doing, she's just doing, hey, they're going to run the football. And she's standing in front of the running back group of lockers. And I see Austin Eckler's jersey. I see Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt's jersey on his pads. I see Jeremy McNichols. And then Chris Rodriguez's locker is right there. And there's nothing there. We don't know if Chris Rodriguez is going to play. We will know in about 40 minutes when they drop the inactive list officially, but we don't know that we're going to see Chris Rodriguez today in a game where temperature-wise it feels like this would be great for Chris Rodriguez. So I'm a little skeptical about that.
So Ben Strober just put up a tweet from the dad basically saying a little heartfelt message that C-Rod probably is not going to be active, and I think that was a pretty big giveaway. The fact that the pads weren't theirs, and then the dad kind of confirming it on social. But
I was trying to be optimistic at first and be like, well, maybe he's just already in his pads 2 hours before game time.
So let me put on my thinking cap and say with that, what I think this means. when Dan Quinn was asked 2 weeks ago about short yardage situations, he name-dropped Chris Rodriguez.
Mm-hmm.
They have been trying to keep Bill Krosky-Merritt under wraps like this. They've been whispering about him. But clearly when he plays, he screams, right?
He screams,
because of all
everybody
the ability.
screams.
So I think we're going to see a lot of him and a lot of Austin Eckler. I wonder where the trust level is with him in terms of pass protection on third down. Will we see Jeremy McNichols spell Austin Eckler in those situations?
And McNichols is the best pass blocking guy they have.
We know he's going to stick his face in there.
He took a massive role in that touchdown to Terry in Cincinnati. There's a couple of plays over the course of last year where McNichols is stuffing guys who are trying to come after Jaden Daniels. I'm under the assumption that it's going to be a lot of Bill. Because I can't imagine that they're going to put Austin Eckler as a guy that I don't know that anyone's going to get 15 to 20 carries. I think this is very much going to be a rotation.
I think Jaden and Debo, too.
Yeah, Jaden and Debo especially. Yeah. So I do think that Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt could be the high carry man at around 10, 11 carries.
It'll be interesting to see. I think just from a offensive perspective, we saw it last year, the different ways that Cliff Kingsbury and company used these backs. I wouldn't be surprised to see Debo, Bill, Eckler in the backfield, Denton together all at one time with Jaden Daniels.
So you mentioned Debo Samuel a couple times. He is one of the many new faces that are with this organization. Today will be the first time we see Von Miller in an actual game, didn't play in the preseason. We will see Laramie Tunsil in an actual game, didn't play in the preseason. Debo played in the preseason, but we get to see him now in a game that matters. Expectations for him in terms of how he's going to be utilized in the offense this year.
If camp is any sort of indicator, and obviously it's hard to fully lock in on that because there was no Terry, there was no Noah Brown. He was used early and often, and I think I've said this all offseason. I think he is going to be in for a big-time year regardless of whether Terry's a part of the equation or not. But just in training camp, I think he was talked about when we first acquired him as like a gadget guy and being used in the backfield and things of that nature. He impressed me as a traditional wide receiver. Him and Jaden Daniels, it was death, taxes, and then those two hooking up in training camp on a deep shot. It was routine. So I have high expectations for him. I'll make a little prediction here. Remember the first play from scrimmage against Cincinnati in that second preseason game?
That's sweet, baby.
I expect to see the same thing today.
Same thing today? First play?
Right off the start. Yes.
Right off the jump?
Right off the bat.
So my thing with Debo is I think there were so many people that thought he was going to be a bubble screen guy. Right. He was going to be a short, maybe a crosser over the middle at 5 or 10 yards. It is important to point out that Debo Samuel athletically, incredibly dynamic. He is not playing with Brock Purdy.
Right.
He is not playing with Jimmy Garoppolo. Those dudes can't throw down the field.
Right.
Jaden Daniels can throw down the field. So I'm really excited to see how they're going to mix him up and what that's going to do for Terry on the outside, what that's going to do potentially for Noah Brown, assuming that he goes. We're still maybe a little hesitant on that. They brought up Chris Moore from the practice squad. They elevated him to the 53, so I don't know what that means for either Noah Brown or Luke McCaffrey. Somebody might be taking a back seat, joining Chris Rodriguez on the inactive list.
If they're going to have 3 backs active, I would think that lets them go 5 wide or 6 wide.
I would think that lets them go 5, but maybe they put Noah Brown in, and then maybe it's Luke McCaffrey. Everyone's been so gung-ho on this clearly means Noah Brown might not go. I don't know that means Noah Brown might not go with Chris Moore.
I'm curious to see because me and you got the chance to talk to Fontel Mines right after the draft, man, and we're super high on Jalen Lane. I think they're super high on Jalen Lane as well.
Jalen Lane.
Noah Brown, we love you. Speedy recovery. I know he's not 100% right now, but this Jalen Lane may end up being the guy of this rookie class that really has the biggest impact this year.
I mean, I think he's going to be utilized a lot more in the slot,
and
I think he can win some matchups in the slot. What does the addition of Laramie Tunsil do for this offense?
I think it adds so many different layers. In terms of the biggest thing, to me, it's like not having to chip, not having to help. I was saying it on Friday on the Burgundy and Gold today. Like, look, if I'm Cliff Kingsbury, I'm calling Laramie into the office on Friday and going, look, big fella, you're making big-time money. You're a big-time player, one of the premier tackles in football. I'm not chipping. I'm not helping. You're getting Abdul Carter, Thibodeau, Burns, one-on-one all day long. Why? Because that's what you do. And that allows us to send, 6 and 7 guys out into the pattern at a time and allows, Jaden Daniels to have the most pass catchers possible, be able to hit checkdowns and things of that nature. Last year, you couldn't do that because you had to double chip on both sides of a tackle.
I wonder what New York is going to do in terms of who they match up where with Tunsil on one side, Abdul Carter on the other side. Because you could put Abdul Carter on Laramie Tunsil,
right,
and then put either Brian Burns or Kayvon Thibodeau on Josh Connerly. those guys have more experience. Connolly does not, and say, we're going to attack this right side. But then you're essentially putting your rookie out there to die because he's not going to beat Laramie Tunsil. But on the flip side, if you put Abdul Carter over Josh Connolly, the last time those two matched up, it didn't exactly go well for Abdul Carter. Josh Connolly stonewalled him in that Big Ten championship game when Oregon and Penn State played each other a couple of months ago.
Yeah, look, I think there was a lot of hubbub made on social media because I came out, I think this was like day 5 of camp. This is the day that Terry reported. The very next day, I think I came in and said, Josh Connolly had been underwhelming to this point. Since that point, I think he's been the most improved guy from day 1 of camp to where we are right now. And I've kind of felt that could be the case during, the draft when you think about his play strength getting better. He's in an NFL weight training program. He went out and trained with Laramie out in Texas and getting that, personal one-on-one work in. I think this young man has the ability to be pretty damn good at the position, but you seen him against New England, don't really have a decorated pass rusher. We saw him against Cincinnati, don't really have a decorated pass rusher. I know he's gotten to go up against Vaughn and Dorrance Armstrong and Louisville during camp. This is a different beast this afternoon. I'm going to be, putting that matchup under the microscope because it's going to be huge to your point.
He is a very rare case, and this does not happen often.
Yeah.
A very rare case of getting legitimately better when he plays other people.
For sure.
When he was just going up against guys in training camp, it's not like he was struggling, but you're like, hey, this is a rookie. This is a guy that has not played NFL football before. You start to see other colors, and for whatever it is, he just locks in. Yeah. And he got significantly better. We got keys to the game coming up. We got a slew of great guests. Danny Rouhier is going to join us in about 20 minutes here. Chris Russell is going to join us at noon. The Junkies, JP Finley, everybody's going to stop by. Your favorite voices from 106.7 The Fan and the Team 980. But coming up next, our keys to a win. What does Washington have to do to come away 1-0 against New York? Don't go anywhere. It's the Burgundy Gold pregame show. Keys to the game coming up shortly. It's the Burgundy Gold pregame show with Denton Day and Lynnell Willingham. You might have heard, if you're a gambling man like I am, about Fanatics one-of-a-kind fair play injury protection. It's really the best in the game. Friday night proved our point. Kansas City and Los Angeles, a star receiver goes down in the first quarter with an injury. Not only did Fanatics fair play void all effective straight bets instantly, if that prop was part of your parlay or same-game parlay, your bet played on. No waiting around with your bets stuck in limbo. I got the numbers here. Last night, Friday night, Fanatics Sports Fair Play policy saved 37% of same-game parlays. That is legendary. It's over a third. The injury would have made you lose on most other sportsbooks. Why would you risk your bets if you don't have to? Fanatics first half fair play all season long, every game. Winning hits different at Fanatics Sportsbook. DC only, must be 21 plus. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. MD, visit mdgamblinghelp.org. Not available in all states. Terms apply. See Fanatics Sportsbook. We're amped in the studio, Lynnell. We got a divisional game to start things off for the Commanders. About a little over 90 minutes from kickoff at Northwest Stadium.
Yeah.
Washington wants to start fast. They need to start 1-0. We got keys to the game. I'm going to give you the first bat, all right? What's the biggest key for Washington to come away with a win and be 1-0?
I mean, I've been, beating on it all summer. I think we all have. They got to get better at stopping the run. It was their clear Achilles heel last year. They're bottom 5 in every major statistical category when it comes to rushing defense in the 2 meetings last year against the Giants. In the first game, it was 6 yards a pop on like 22 carries. In the second game, it was 5 yards a pop on 31 carries. If you cannot stop the run this afternoon on these early downs, it makes Russell Wilson in this passing game a lot more, impactful and effective, and it could cause some problems here for Washington. But Javon Kinlaw, we've been talking about him, before we got started. So, yeah.
Javon Kinlaw has to be a dude in the middle. There's a lot of pressure on him. My biggest key is that same thing, but on the flip side. Washington needs to be multidimensional on offense. Yeah. Jane Daniels is Superman. Don't make him Superman every single game. You got a bunch of different guys. You got a collection in the backfield. You got Deebo Samuel, who you can utilize in the run game. Hell, you can even utilize Jaden's legs, but I'm hoping that Washington is multidimensional on offense, and I think if they can establish the run early and punch this New York Giant defensive front, which is a nasty one, in the mouth, that only opens up the offense in the second half, so they got to establish the run game on their own.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, and to your point, we were talking about it a moment ago, we haven't seen Laramie Tunsil yet to this point throughout camp. And we also, throughout the preseason, we haven't seen Von Miller either. 2 guys that I think are going to have a big impact today in terms of how well they play. It may swing the pendulum on whether or not it's a win or a loss. For Tunsil, like when you haven't got any game reps and then you're in your first game and it's against Brian Burns and Abdul Carter and Thibodeau, you wonder if there's some rust for old LT. And then on the flip side for Von Miller, we talked about run defense. Can they earn the right to let him be effective as a pass rusher, getting New York into these obvious passing situations where he could pin his ears back? There's no Andrew Thomas this afternoon, so James Hudson going to get the start at left tackle. Danny Rouhier mentioned it on Friday on G&D. I totally agree with him. I think Von Miller has a big-time impact on this game and on this season as a whole. You may not see it right away, but I feel like several times throughout this year, there are going to be games where he's the one closing it out.
So that's my key number 2.
Yeah.
I think Dietrich Wise has a great game.
Yeah.
I think Dietrich Wise, the guys that are not Von Miller need to capitalize off of some one-on-one matchups. Yeah. You're not going to see a lot of double teams forced in the direction of Dorrance Armstrong. You're not going to see a lot of double teams forced in the direction of Dietrich Wise, which means you have to win those one-on-one matchups. Yeah. If you can constantly be in the backfield against a quarterback in Russell Wilson who thinks he still is mobile, but he is very much not mobile the way that he once was. This is not 2012 anymore. My man is old. He is rusty. He cannot move. You got to get after him. And the word is, according to sources, that they have a number of plays, some packages for Jackson Dart. If Jackson Dart enters the game, you got to eat that man alive. Yeah. He has not seen real NFL game reps, and it's going to be important to showcase that not everybody is Jaden Daniels.
Right.
You cannot just walk in here and be effective immediately, so I think they really need to get after him.
Yeah, totally. And Russell Wilson's a quarterback, even when he's in the game, Denton, that has not, fared well when he's been under pressure throughout the course of his career. That's, one of my keys as well, is just being able to heat him up and make him get the football out of his hands quickly. But I'm going to sound like a broken record. I don't even want to talk about any other keys because I think the run game, Denton, go back to it once more, has so much of an impact on this game. We talked about it in terms of earning the right to rush the passer. But then if you're New York, think about the style of ball that you want to play. Why do you want Jayden Daniels and company on the field? How do you keep them on the sideline? You run the ball effectively on first and second down. You continue to get yourself into third and short and try to move the chains, man. I think we're going to see a different philosophical approach this year in terms of how teams play Washington. I think from game 1 now to game hopefully 21, they have the respect of the entire National Football League right off the rip.
As much pressure as there is on Javon Kinlaw, the guy that I feel like I've been most excited about this offseason has been the guy that's been here the longest on that defensive front. Daron Payne seems happier this offseason. Mm-hmm. And take that in whichever direction that you will, but he seems happier. He seems looser. You know, everyone is saying, hey, this is a contract year for him.
Yeah.
Don't get John Allen, like the way that John Allen was. Well, John Allen this offseason. But there's something about the way that he has moved this offseason where there's a relaxed vibe, but it's not complacent. It's, I kind of know what my role is here. I understand what we're doing on defense. I got another year in this scheme. And Daron Payne, while statistically did not exactly jump off the box score at anybody, I do think towards the end of the year he started to play really, really well and kind of understand what he needed to do in this scheme. I'm excited for Daron Payne to potentially have a really, really strong year.
I think, to your point, like, he didn't jump out on the box score. There weren't a whole lot of flash plays. They asked these defensive tackles, I think, in this scheme compared to Ron Rivera's scheme in that year where he went, Kanye crazy with the 11.5 sacks or whatever it was. I think what's most important for this D-line is just gap integrity and maintaining, the point of attack and not getting moved. You can't, when you're getting double teamed, and we talked about this a lot last year with Daron and with John Allen. When you're getting double teamed, you can't get blown 4 and 5 yards off of the football, man. I got the chance to talk to Sharif Floyd for a long time towards the end of camp, and that was the one thing that, they completely changed their mentality on was how they played the double team and calling it an art form. Denton, it's something we take pride in. It's not the sexy, fun thing to do because you don't really get credit for it in the box score, as you mentioned, but it's super important for, Bobby Wagner and for Frankie Louvu to be able to have, clean, shots at the ball carrier.
My final key to the game here on the defensive side. Who follows Malik Neighbors? What's the plan? Because Malik Neighbors in game number 1 last year dominated. Now, it's very important to point out he was going up against Benjamin St-Juste, Michael Davis, and there might have been a little Emmanuel Forbes in there.
Ugh.
That is a nightmare trio to guard a legitimate top 8 wide receiver, top 10 certainly, in Malik Neighbors. Who is going to guard him? What is that going to look like? Is it a shadowing situation? Do you trust Marshawn Lattimore to shadow him? Or do you trust everybody, Trey Amos? Because I would imagine the Giants are going to try and line him up against Trey Amos. Hey, rookie, welcome to the NFL. Here is one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. I'm curious to know what the scheme is going to be, what the communication, what the help is going to be in terms of defending Malik Neighbors, but then also balancing that to make sure that Wan'Dale Robinson doesn't go nuts. Or one of these other Giants receivers that you only know because you got him in the 15th round of your fantasy draft, so they don't go crazy.
Yeah, so in camp, it has been Trey Amos as your defensive left, and it's been Marshawn Lattimore on your defensive right. I think traditionally, your number one, and someone correct me if I'm wrong, lines up on the left. So I've kind of viewed Trey Amos as the number one guy. I know they won't travel him, but I think by season's end, he's going to be, regarded as this team's best cornerback. I think he had an awesome spring, awesome camp. Obviously got nicked up, couldn't see him against Cincy. I feel like it was a missed opportunity getting to see Chase. But I think he's ready for that matchup, Denton. I really do. I think he's got the confidence and the swagger to be able to, get physical with Malik Neighbors at the point of attack. As you mentioned, he's going to get a lot of targets. You're going to get some bump. It's not like you're going to be standing there on an island all afternoon. I think I'm more curious, Denton, to see how Marshawn Lattimore handles the deep speed of Darius Slayton, and then when he gets matched up on him, the deep speed of Malik Neighbors. That's the question mark to me. Southeast Sean is what I want to call him for this year. He's got to be the guy that
he's looked good in camp.
He's looked good in camp. I got to see it against other wide receivers, and especially some guys with some speed, because I think that's the area where if we're questioning him, Denton, it's that.
And there's also the emotional element of this. We saw on Thursday night one of the best players on the field got kicked off for spitting on a guy.
Right.
And the NFL has made it a very big priority that the unsportsmanlike stuff is not going to fly.
No.
Marshawn Lattimore had some issues with that, particularly going up against Mike Evans and A.J. Brown. The beef with Mike Evans and Marshawn Lattimore is a long one.
Yeah.
We know that. There's a rich history between those two guys. They don't like each other. With A.J. Brown, it's a little bit different. I don't know that there's beef with him and Malik Neighbors. I would prefer that to not start, though. So I think emotionally he needs to make sure that he's cool.
Yes.
He's calm. He's collected. You understand Are you going to get beat a time or two? Potentially. You hope not, but potentially. Just don't let it get too in your head about it. I know you want to be, you need the personality, you need the swagger of being a defensive back. Like, you just have to have it for that position. But you got to make sure that doesn't get out of control, because these officials, particularly in the first few weeks of the season, they are going to be trigger happy when it comes to throwing flags.
Honestly, Denton, I kind of want to see it. Not the 15-yard penalty, but I want to see this defense as a whole just play with an attitude and an edge.
An identity.
You know what I'm saying? Think about it. Like, we talked about them all off season long, how they couldn't stop the run, how there were questions about Marshawn Lattimore. He's heard it. I know it's something that they pay attention to, whether they're going to admit it or not. That's the big thing I'm looking for defensively. But for Lattimore, yeah, I agree. Gotta be smart.
If you have keys to the game that we missed and you're watching on YouTube, pop them in the chat. If you're listening to us on the radio and you want to tweet us, you can at the Denton Day, at NELL_BTP. Any keys to the game that we missed, let us know when we get back. Danny Rouhier from Grant Danny going to join us. He will help us preview week number 1. It's the Burgundy Gold pregame show with Denton Day, Lynnell, Willingham on 106.7 The Fan and the Team 980. is the Burgundy Gold pregame show with Denton Day and Lynnell Willingham on the Team 980 and 106.7 The Fan. We are live on YouTube as well. We're going to be live at the half, Lynnell. This is the first time this season. We're going to be live at the half on Twitter and YouTube. There is no in-game show this year, but live on Twitter and YouTube, it's going to be the only live and local halftime show during the game. So everybody, when the clock hits 0 for the second quarter and we go to intermission, we're going to be up and running in the 2-minute warning, but come hang out with us so we can chop it up. Hopefully the game has gone really, really well to that point, but so we can come and we can chop it up. So we do have the inactive list here. There are a few surprises. Chris Rodriguez is inactive. That one is not a surprise. We kind of figured. Both Kane Moderno and Ale Kahu is inactive, so that's 2 linebackers that are gone. Trent Scott, George Fant, Javonte Jean-Baptiste, which means Washington has 6 wide receivers active. Noah Brown is active. Chris Moore is active. And then you get Luke, Jalen Lane, Terry, and Debo.
Yeah, I think it's protection for Noah Brown, who really did not participate much during training camp, had that injury during the mandatory minicamp that caused him to have that nasty yell that we reported on. We were out there, and yeah, I think, dressing 6 wide receivers, like you said, is kind of to protect for that. But I think Jalen Lane, like I continue to say, that is going to be a guy that's, part of this thing.
Let's head out to the phones now. Our guy, Danny Rouhier, you hear him Monday through Friday on Grant and Danny, 2 to 6:30 p.m. on 106.7 The Fan. He is with us now. Danny, it's been 224 long days since we have seen meaningful football. How are you feeling about 90 minutes ahead of kickoff today?
The normal nausea, a little stomach irritation. Not sure if it's from coffee on an empty stomach or the fact that it's a sluggish NFC East game against a hungry opponent that's desperate, and everybody's hype train has left the station, including the conductor, my guy, Lynnell Willingham.
What's going on, Danny? So getting right into it from an X's and O's standpoint, we've talked about it all off season. How important is it for this group to come out today and establish both sides of the line of scrimmage, specifically on the defensive side of the ball, where they really struggled to stop the run? They brought in some reinforcements in Kinlaw and Dietrich Wise. Your expectations for that group?
Yeah, that was sort of the agenda, right, guys? I mean, you sort of looked at the defense last year, and I have a different version of it than everybody else. I think they knew they were so terrible against the pass that they kind of said, we'll give up 6-7 yards a pop to running backs. We'll just sort of sit back and let people run at the death against us, because if we try to stop the run, Kenny Pickett will pick us apart, or any other quarterback that would like to throw to an open receiver will have plenty of opportunity to do so. I always point to the Baltimore game as kind of my case study. If you remember, go back to that one. The first half, they said, no Derrick Henry. We're to stop him. And they did. They did a great job in the first half. Zay Flowers went 9 for over 100 yards. So then they said, okay, well, that's killing us worse, so let's back off, and Derrick Henry ran for 2 trillion yards in the second half. That's who that defense was. So how do you solve that? What's the fix? Yeah, you improve the secondary, which I think they did, but this regime, this group, Adam Peters and company said, the way we're going to do this is we'll be better on first down. That will get enough pass rush by putting teams in bad situations. They're hunting for that 3rd and long, so they need to be better on first down. That was their MO. I don't know that I would have done it that way, but I'm not qualified to do much of anything, let alone a football team. So that's what they did. Enter Javon Kinlaw. Enter, a lot of beef up front, the Dietrich Wises of the world. That's what they want to do. They want to be really good against the run on early downs to kind of set some things up. So how does that apply? How does that apply to this game? Well, yeah, go back again to those Giants games last year, especially in the second game. Tyrone Tracy ran wild. Daniel Jones ran wild. Guys were very, very comfortable sort of ripping through this part of the line of scrimmage. If that slows down today, you still have the quandary of Malik Neighbors, who they still haven't covered through 2 games of his professional career. So that's what scares me about it. But their MO, their idea, their plan this offseason was to be really, really good against the run. And that's why all the personnel moves kind of fit into that puzzle.
So you talk about the pass defense last year. They've obviously upgraded all of those positions on the back end. What are your expectations for Marshawn Lattimore with a full offseason and what we have been told is a clean bill of health?
Yeah, I am not buying that one. You're my guy. I have zero confidence that the player from 5 years ago will ever emerge again. I went back and I read the articles. I saw the headlines about how healthy Marshawn Lattimore was. Now, this was the best offseason of his life. And how he hired a private chef and he started doing yoga and he actually took up some ballet at one point. I'm making some of those up. But the point is, I've got too much sample. I have too much sample where he cannot do it for an extended period of time, ends up injured. They are counting on him. Listen, I was all in favor of the trade at the time. We talked about that a bunch. Here's what I would have done this offseason is exercise their option where they could have gotten out of that contract for nothing. Instead, they opted right back in. I understand that. They gave up a bunch of draft picks, but they stayed in, paying him like a top-end corner. I would have said fairly well, we tried. It didn't work. Let's go get one of the, I think, some of the big game hunting that was available via free agency. Wasn't much in the tackle market, wasn't much in the defensive end market in terms of marquee guys, but you could have gone out and gotten yourself an upgraded corner for a similar price. They chose not to do that, counting on Lattimore. Again, I understand why you don't want to give up those draft picks and then just kind of cut them loose, but I would have. Now, they didn't. They're counting on him to be the dude. I'm excited about Trey Amos. I think they found themselves a baller right there. I think that guy's going to be their best corner. Maybe not in week 1, but by week 5, 6, 7, we'll understand that this is their kind of their one seed here as we go forward. But I do not have a lot of confidence in Lattimore being able to do what he did a long time ago.
Inactives came out right before we brought you on, Danny. Chris Rodriguez, not a part of the 53-man roster for this afternoon. When you look at what Washington has done in the backfield, kind of leading this Bill Krosky-Merritt train, do you think this running back room has the opportunity to make plays? And then a two-parter for you here. Last year down the stretch, we know the interior of this offensive line really struggled to create holes in the traditional running game. What are you expecting to see from them today as well?
Yeah, that was another priority. You could see there are going to be 3 new starters. I put an asterisk by that. It's just Coleman moving over, and then somebody kind of filling in for Sam Cosmi, whether it's Allegretti or Wiley. I don't know if you guys have seen that yet as to who might get the bulk of the time there at right guard. But, yeah, you guys sounded like you were not surprised by Rodriguez. I am. I really thought the first carry of the season would go to him, and they would be working in across Merritt. That doesn't sound like the case. It's full go from minute number 1, so good for the kid. I thought there was too much in Rodriguez where he stuck with it, he'd been cut, and he was kind of emblematic of that message that you're trying to send. If you do what we ask, we'll reward you. He cut weight, got himself a little bit more burst. He's got some of that power that they seemed to really like last year in Brian Robinson to go with the complete lack of vision or agility or anything like that. But they gave Brian Robinson a ton of carries on pace for well over 225. And I thought Rodriguez would get similar treatment, to be honest with you. They would use Krosky-Merritt as more of a supplement, a guy with some burst, kind of that 10 to 12 touch sort of range. Kind of he and Austin Eckler occupying a similar role. So I'm really surprised that he might be your bell cow there in week number 1. But, again, that was the design. Thinking about what I said about the defensive line, The offensive line, I think they look back and they go, you know what? We were not able to run the ball outside of Jaden Daniels pretty much the entire second half of the season. That Tennessee game notwithstanding, which is still, by the way, one of the strangest things in the history of mankind, where that run defense was actually good and Washington ran all over them like it was Nebraska in the early 90s. Before both of you were born, by the way, which is irritating. But thinking back to that, they decided we're going to really beef up this offensive line and improve it, enter a super athletic right tackle, maybe you're apparent one day, at left tackle in Connerly. Tunsil, we know his bona fides. Coleman, a serviceable tackle, now becomes a guard. Tyler Biotic, I don't think you have to do anything with. He's really, really good. And next thing you know, I think they feel like they can impose their will up front. I mean, to me, again, this all sort of mirrors one thing. It's how do we beat the Eagles? What do we do against them? We have to kind of match fire with fire. They went and got tanks, so we got tanks. They got long-range missiles, we got long-range missiles. I mean, they're basically trying to arm themselves to beat the bully on the block, which is the Eagles. And, again, you can see it. Beef up the offensive line to deal with Philly's, bare front of defenders. And on the other side, that defensive line, try to beef up against Philly mauling you in the run game, which they did so effectively last year.
So, Danny, we got 2 predictions that we need you to give. I'm going to start with the smaller one. How many receptions, how many yards, and a potential touchdown for Terry McLaurin today?
0 touchdowns. I think it's a first play of the season, kind of a nominal, sort of an homage, a nod. I think he's on a pitch count. And I think it's like a 2 or 3 catch, 20-yard kind of non-factor sort of thing. And it's something I feel like I'm the only one saying this, and I'm on crazy pills. Really smart people, Dan Orlovsky, Kadri Ismail, guys that played the position, that, among others, have kind of said, it's probably unrealistic, unfair, and probably stupid to say go out there and play your full 70 snaps and run and block and you go through contested catches and the like when you just haven't had enough time on the grass. He waited a really, really long time to sign a team-friendly deal. I think he kind of passed the window of when he should have been back. He made his point. I thought the point was really good. I get it. I supported it. But once you sort of started skipping preseason games and didn't have enough time for any of the joint practices and things like that, you pretty much, to me, cost yourself the ability to be yourself for the first couple of games of the season because they play Sunday and then they play 4 days from now in Green Bay against a really good opponent. So I expect him on a pitch count for at least these first couple of games. I don't think it's going to be a huge impact, and it'll be kind of in name only for a while. To me, this offense today will go through Deebo Samuel, will go through Ertz, Krosky Merritt, Jaden Daniels to make some plays, and Austin Eckler as well, I think, will be factors. That's why I don't really anticipate just beating the brakes off this Giants team that's hungry, and they didn't play very well against them last year. I think you go get Russell Wilson to raise the floor a little bit. Your ceiling isn't very high. No one's excited about that. But I don't think this Giants team think like a lot of people do.
All right, what's the prediction? Do they start 1-0?
16-15 Giants. This will be a frustrating beginning to the season. It'll be a missed extra point that ultimately is the difference. The Giants get a break that they didn't get in either game last year. I think the team starts 0-1, then goes to Green Bay, ends up starting 0-2. Much better football is ahead of them, though. The offense, once they have some time together, McLaurin gets up to speed, Noah Brown gets up to speed, they'll play much better as the year goes. But I think it's going to be one of those, no, we didn't count on this kind of starts from a team that everybody's already penciled in to hoist the Lombardi Trophy and have 19 parades, and everyone's patting themselves on the back, congratulating themselves for all the accomplishments that have yet to come. That's not how progress works. See the Houston Texans of last year. I think it's a bumpy start, but much better days ahead.
Danny, I will tell you this. If a missed extra point costs the team the game, I'm going to crash out in epic proportions on the postgame show. But, my friend, we appreciate it as always.
I was about to say, real quick before we let you go, Danny, I think it's a bold prediction. I don't think you're totally crazy for it. We got to learn, though, as fans, too, now to, like, we're a fan of a winning team, we hope. You think Kansas City radio is going crazy on Monday over the loss that happened on Friday night? No, it's a long season.
Well, they are, but they're stupid. Yeah, the same way the Patriots went out. Again, you were just a toddler when this was happening. But when the Patriots would go 2-2 in September, they're like, Brady's washed. Belichick doesn't have it.
It's crazy.
Nope, that was kind of their preseason. They'll be fine.
Right.
So will Kansas City. They're going to the AFC title game. But you just put us in a conversation with two of the great dynasties in the history of the sport.
I did. Right.
That's kind of my point here. Is
yeah.
let's have a second year with a winning record in a row for just the second time since this millennium started. Let's do that.
I think it's a good
before
start.
we start crowning each other.
I think it's a good start.
Danny, appreciate it. Enjoy this
appreciate
one.
You, Danny.
Appreciate you guys. And by the way, I know what crash out means because I have kids.
That is Danny Rouhier. He is one half of Grant Danny, 2 p.m. to 6:30 every Monday through Friday on 106.7 The Fan. When we get back, our one player each to lock in on to guarantee a win for Washington. It's the Burgundy Gold pregame show with Denton, Lynnell, Willingham on 106.7 The Fan and the Team 980. Chris Russell will join us in 10 minutes here on the Burgundy and Gold pregame show. He is Lynnell Willingham. I am Denton Day. We're a little over an hour away from kickoff for the Commanders and the Giants. We listed the Commanders inactives a few moments ago before we had Danny on, Lynnell. Here is the Giants players who will not be going for New York. Andrew Thomas, who we kind of knew was not going to go. He is officially inactive. Bo Braid, the safety. Evan Neal on the offensive line. Tight end Thomas Fedone. I don't know him. Darius Alexander. And then Jameis Winston is the emergency third quarterback, which means Jackson Dart is QB2. I'm anticipating that we will see Jackson Dart in some capacity today.
No, Darius Alexander is it's a surprise, I would say. If you were to ask me this back in April, was he going to be inactive on week 1 of the regular season for performance reasons, I would have said no. Got the chance to talk to Art Stapleton last week, and he hadn't had a good camp. The D-tackle out of Toledo. I was worried about him and Sexy Dexter on the interior, and all the reports coming out of Giants camp is he's been to this point. Not
been great. For Washington, no Josh Johnson. He's the emergency third quarterback. Chris Rodriguez is not going to go today. I know that's been kind of a sore topic on social media. Ali Cahoe and Kane Moderno are not going to go today at the linebacker spot. And then Trent Scott, who showed up to the game in a Jaden Daniels high school jersey.
Really?
He is not going to go. George Fant, who they just signed recently prior to that final preseason game, will not go. And then Javonte Jean-Baptiste will not go. With no Javonte Jean-Baptiste, that leads me to believe that we are going to see a healthy dose of Von Miller today.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the rotation goes on the edge. As we mentioned it, ideally I don't want Von Miller playing on the, obvious early rundowns. Let's see if, Dietrich Wise and Dorrance Armstrong can set the edge, but can they earn the right to get him in those obvious pass rushing situations? I think that's the thing we'll look at. And then real quick on the interior, with no Trent Scott being there, I think it's weird that he's inactive, by the way. He's one of their guys that can play tackle and guard.
Same with Fant. I thought Fant played really well.
For sure. But you know who it's an endorsement of? A dude who I pointed out from the first time I saw him and laid eyes on him in the spring. Chris Paul, body composition just looks different. Always had a little bit of baby fat on him. Definitely is trimmed down. He probably is the first interior O-lineman or the second interior O-lineman off the bench if something happens to Wiley to Allegretti or to Brandon Coleman.
You will not hear me say this often.
Yeah.
But thank you, Ron Rivera. Chris Paul.
Yeah, I know, right?
All right, who are we locking in on? It's our Baldino's Locking Key player 2. Lock in on Baldino's Locking Key is your hometown security key for auto keys and fobs. Visit baldinos.com. All right, Lynnell, we want Washington to go 1-0.
Yeah.
They need to go 1-0. Who needs to play well for that to happen?
I was torn between two guys. I'm going to go with the D.C. native himself, one of the most, touching stories that I've ever heard pre-draft, talking about Javon Kinlaw, man. This is a dude that at 27 years of age, Adam Peters and DQ feel like is still just scratching the surface in terms of how good he can be. This is a mountain of a man. I've been to 4 training camps. This is the biggest dude I've ever seen in my life on a football field.
He is massive.
He has got to play big this afternoon. I know he can get upfield as a pass rusher, and he's got juice there, but what I want to see, Denton, how strong is this dude going to be at the point of attack? Does he keep Bobby Wagner and Frankie Louvu clean to go out and make plays in the running game?
I love it. And I think you are 100% right. I saw Javon Kinlaw for the first time when I went to training camp, and I was like,
made you look at yourself,
my
probably,
God.
Like, am I small?
That is the large. I knew it. That was the largest human being I've ever seen on a football field. He's legitimately towers over everybody. With that said, that doesn't mean anything if you're getting pushed around. Mm-hmm. So you got to use that strength. You got to use that size, to just disrupt what the Giants are doing on the run game approach. Here it is for me. The player to lock in on is a guy that's moving positions but going back to his natural position. I think Brandon Coleman is the guy that I'm focusing on. We know what Laramie Tunsil is on the left side. He is a premier left tackle, so making the adjustment and moving Brandon Coleman makes a ton of sense. But moving him also gives you a lot of, I think, more intrigue on the offensive line because his athleticism at guard is something that not a lot of teams across the NFL have, and I think not a lot of defensive lines might be prepared for. If you know you're going to be a run-first team, which Washington seems like they want to be just based off of how Cliff Kingsbury likes to move offensively, having Brandon Coleman in his more natural position and with that athleticism, I think opens the door for some Jane Daniels design runs, for utilizing the 3 different backs that are going to be active, for utilizing a guy like a Deebo Samuel. I cannot imagine the fear in the eyes of a linebacker or a defensive back when they see a hole open, and it's not Deebo Samuel running at him, it's Brandon Coleman pulling around, ready to take their soul away. So I think Brandon Coleman is going to be massive. This has been the biggest part in the acquisition of Laramie Tunsil. You now give him some flexibility, and I think that makes your offensive line significantly better as a whole.
I totally agree with you. And my thing is this for BC. Awesome kid, just really humble, kind of a late bloomer in terms of football. For him in his first game at guard to go up against Dexter Lawrence, dude, it's like, okay, we'll see if you're ready or not.
Welcome to the position.
And he's been, on the trainer's table a lot during camp, so he hadn't really got to go up against, a Deron Payne and Kinlaw a whole lot. So that's a hell of a pick by you because I think he's definitely one of the guys. Like, if he plays well, Washington probably wins. If he struggles, you probably see some hiccups offensively.
If he struggles, that means guys like Dexter Lawrence or whoever is matched up in front of him, maybe they do some creative things, kind of like what Dallas did in that first game last year, where they're moving Michael Parsons all over the place, and Michael Parsons was getting guard matchups, and Allegretti was just like, what is happening?
What am I supposed to do here?
I don't know how I'm supposed to handle this. So whoever he gets matched up with, if he does not play well, that means they're likely getting into the backfield and things are out of control. It is important to focus on this defensive line for the New York Giants. This is a group that is a very dangerous group.
For sure.
There's a bunch of areas where you can point to this team for the New York Giants and say they're weak in certain areas. I do not believe the defensive line is one of them. So you have to – I know the team is walking into there with some respect, but I'm not about to sit here and say they're just going to blow the doors off them. It's going to be easy. I do not think that's going to be the case. That defensive line is very, very frightening.
For sure, but on the flip side of that coin, Washington did do a really good job running the football on them in the first two matchups last year.
I mean, the first matchup was the first time that we were innuated, if you will, into, we don't have to see Tressway in a football game. This is kind of nice.
You know what I'm saying? So I think, to your point, like, it's going to be huge. And similarly to what we're talking about with Washington and defensive line and being able to stop the run, to get, Russell in those obvious passing situations so Von Miller can pin his ears back. It's the same for Washington on offense. Stay ahead of the chain so you're not in any obvious passing situations, so maybe you can mitigate that defensive front. The other thing is this, tempo. They're going to run no huddle. Washington last year kind of like reinvented the wheel, it felt like a little bit in terms of, the pace that they played at. I think that helps them out this afternoon as well.
I described it to you as a fast, slow pace because it wasn't like Chip Kelly's, we're going to run 1,000 plays a minute, but it was constant tempo, not giving the opposition enough time to make a substitution, but also then not tiring yourself out in the process. So you had the cardio to handle that, and the other team, which NFC teams, whoever, the other team wasn't really prepared for it. So I love that. I think the tempo in the second half in particular is really going to take it to the next level offensively for Washington. We're about an hour away from kickoff. We're doing some new stuff this year on Burgundy and Gold game days. You're not going to get an in-game show, but you will get an official halftime show. So if you're not following us on Twitter or on YouTube, you need to go do that. At 1067 The Fan, at the Team 980 on both Twitter and YouTube. You can follow Lynnell and myself on Twitter at NELL_BTP and at The Denton Day. We're going to be live starting at the 2-minute warning of the first half and then carry you entirely commercial-free through halftime. It's the only live and local, fully Commander-centric halftime show that you're going to get, so you don't have to sit through Verizon commercials and Meghan Trainor not knowing who Patrick Mahomes is for the 15th time at 2 p.m. You get to hang out with us, talk Commanders. It'll be interactive. Hang out with us in the chat. So be on the lookout for that at halftime. We'll do that again also for postgame. So the final 2 minutes of the game, we're going to be live on Twitter and YouTube, and then we will carry you for a 45 to 60-minute post-game show after that. New but fun stuff coming. Speaking of fun, Chris Russell joins us on the other side to give his thoughts on this matchup. It's a Burgundy Gold pregame show with Denton Day, Lynnell, Willingham. Chris Russell going to join us in just a moment. He is live from Northwest Stadium. You get the Giants and the Commanders in under an hour. He is Lynnell Willingham. I am Denton Day. I need my Savages to stand up, Lynnell. Luke McCaffrey, anytime touchdown, 20-1. Bet it.
Lord.
Today's the day. I bet it every single week last year, and it hit him 0 times. Today's the day. 20-1. Book it.
We'll see. But I heard that the caged animal, Chris Russell, is ready. So let's get out to our guy, Chris Russell, right now. Join us live from Northwest Stadium.
Yeah.
What's up, Rooster, man?
Cock-a-doodle do, boys.
brother.
Happy opening day to
Cock-a-doodle-doo.
you. How are you?
I'm good. You sound a little doom and gloom. Wake the hell up, Chris Russell. How are you? It's game day, Russell.
I mean, what do you want me to do? They yell at me for screaming. They yell at me for doing my job. I'm the only guy in this press box that gets more crap in the press box than I do at the radio station.
Real quick, Denton, before you lead us in, have you spilled anything, and what have you had to eat so far?
I have not spilled a thing yet, including the coffee I got from Dunkin' Donuts on the way in. I have not eaten a thing yet, which is going to change pretty quickly because I've got an Infinity Sports Radio update starting at 12:25, so I got to slip something in between.
Yes.
Maybe a little salad. I'm not sure what we have on the menu today, but everything is cool here, guys. It's opening day or week one. I guess more opening day is baseball. Week one is for the NFL, and you got the helmets. You got a little surprise, I think, at least for me, the way I was leaning on the lineup. So, and the rain has stopped, which is what was expected and is important for ball security, as you guys were talking about last hour.
When you talk about surprises, I assume you are referring to Chris Rodriguez. Would that be
Yeah,
correct?
I mean, for me, I thought if they were going to go with the 3 running backs over 4 running backs, it would be Rodriguez over Bill just based on experience, right? And maybe a little bit better pass pro, maybe a little bit better in terms of catching the ball out of the backfield. That's nothing against Bill. I wanted 4 running backs active. I was hoping that that's what they would do, but they did 3 all year last year. So, and Rodriguez was often he was always the odd man out when the other 3 were healthy. Well, now you don't have one of those other 3 in Brian Robinson, and Rodriguez still can't get in the lineup. Now, he's on the roster, so that's different. He's not on the game day elevation cycle. But, I'm a little bit surprised. Now, I was told, obviously, that this should not be a surprise based on if you were out at practice. As you guys know, we're not always able to be out at practice when they go to a regular season schedule. So maybe we shouldn't be surprised. And again, I want to be clear. This has nothing to do with Bill. I love Bill. I think I was on him pretty early, as were most. But this is a little bit of a surprise that Chris Rodriguez once again is inactive when there are 3 other running backs of choice.
So the thing that I immediately point to here, and I know they like the way he hits the hole, but he is a little bit slighter in stature compared to the young man that you sent to San Francisco and Brian Robinson Jr. Any worries about short yardage today because there is no Chris Rodriguez? Because when Dan Quinn was asked about it, I mean, he was very forthcoming about saying, yes, it is Chris Rodriguez that will be that short yardage back. How do you think who do you think they deploy in that spot today?
Well, I wonder if some of that is mitigated by just the fact that you have Jaden Daniels, right? Number one.
For sure.
And, if it's 3rd down or if it's 4th down, I would assume McNichols or maybe Eckler would be in there for a little bit of a different look, and McNichols can probably get it up between the tackles if he needs to. And Eckler obviously can run with speed. So I guess they figure they can work around that. And maybe you see Rodriguez in the lineup on a short week 2, when maybe Bill, and I think you pointed this out yesterday, Lynnell, or maybe it was Friday, I can't remember. Mm-hmm. And you're right. I mean, Bill's been banged up throughout camp, especially once the preseason game. So on a short week, Thursday night at Green Bay, maybe we will see Rodriguez. I don't know.
What is the healthy amount of carries that Jaden Daniels should get? Is there a sweet spot for you?
Well, it's not 16 like last year's week 1 at Tampa. I'll tell you that. I don't know, 8, somewhere in that range. I just did an IG Live with Grant here at the stadium, and I think I predicted 12 for 48 for Bill, so 12 carries. I think he had 14, if I'm not mistaken. So to me, if you then splice in a little from Eckler, a little from McNichols, and say, for me, I'm going to go 8, maybe 9 carries not all by design, of course, by Jaden Daniels, that should probably get you to a number that's effective. But I don't want 16. Sorry.
No,
I know how explosive and dynamic he is. I don't want 16.
8 minutes into your hit, brother, and if we haven't brought up the run defense yet, I'll be the one to do it. How important is it for you for them to win the first and second down? And I know you spoke about it this week along the lines of, well, if you can't stop the Giants' rushing attack, whose rushing attack can you stop here in the first month?
Yeah, and that's no disrespect to Tyron Tracy and Cam Scatterbo, right?
Right.
I mean, especially Tracy. And look, I understand they struggled against everybody last year, including the Giants. And I'm not expecting an easy game by any means here. But what I'm saying is, if you're going to have success, if you're going to get this grand piano, if you will, off your back, you better do it today with Jacobs, Genty, and Bijan coming in the next 3 weeks, right? So that's number one. Number two, I think, you've been hearing about it all offseason. They've been preaching it. They've been talking about anchoring at the point of attack. You mentioned last hour, Lynnell, Sharif Floyd mentioned that they really worked hard on disengaging on double teams. Well, if we remember the Week 2 game here last year, Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne were manhandled with double teams constantly, duo block, whatever, at the point of attack. Well, now Jonathan Allen's not here. Dante Fowler's not here. They've beefed up. They think Javon Kinlaw's a lot of their answers to a lot of their problems, along with Dietrich Wise and others. Your guy, Javonte Jean-Baptiste, is not active today, so that won't be a factor. But the bottom line is they think they beefed up, anchored up, and are able to kind of hold their ground a little bit and force those 2nd and 8, 2nd and 9, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8 type situations.
Chris Russell with us here on the Burgundy Gold pregame show. He is live from Northwest Stadium, hanging out with us. What do you anticipate to see from the passing defense today, Roost?
So, Denton, I heard you, say, like, you'd be really curious to see how they kind of go against Malik Neighbors, and I'm with you. I think what they will do, I don't know, but I think what they will do is roll out just wherever Malik Neighbors goes, they will not trail Lattimore, I don't think, early on. Even though they like to play more man defense than a lot of defenses do, I think they will let the young kid, Amos, and obviously Sandra still, if it's in the slot, kind of work against Malik Neighbors until they see it hemorrhaging, if they see it hemorrhaging. And if they don't, that's a great sign. And if they do, then they have the option of trailing Lattimore. And to me, you probably are going to see that. I don't expect, again, don't expect Lattimore to be all over side to side, including the slot with him from the jump from from snap one. But again, that's what I don't expect, not what I know.
Chris, what is is there any concern at all with this offensive line, particularly in the traditional running game this afternoon? Laramie Tunsil didn't play at all in the preseason. Brandon Coleman really didn't play at all in the preseason. And then we know the struggles that Nick Allegretti and Biadasz had down the stretch. Are you at all worried about their ability to get it going on the ground here at all?
Yeah, I don't know why we wouldn't be, especially against Dexter Lawrence and that talented front, right? Now it's more of a pass rushing front, but it's still Dexter Lawrence, when he's right, can just engulf people, right? And especially the interior of that offensive line, which is already missing Sam Cosmi. Biadasz has been, I don't want to say he's been bad, but he's been a little up and down since midway through last year. And again, Brandon Coleman new at guard, but a bigger, harder to move body. And I know he was looking forward to this challenge, but being very respectful. By the way, guys, right. Jaden Daniels just came out and is starting to loosen up in full uniform. So this just in, Jaden Daniels will start at quarterback for the Washington Commanders today. But anyway, the point being is, I do think they will struggle to get on track. And then I wonder if you've got to crease them, the Giants, going outside zone, toss pitch, like a crack, to the outside, get them side to side, horizontal, try and wear them out, try and get them with speed to turn the corner. And maybe that's part of the philosophy of going with Jakari Krosky-Merritt, or AKA Bill, is that he has that ability to go out and bounce to the outside. By the way, I just saw, I don't know if you guys care about this, but owner Josh Harris just walking across the field with his wife, and a big hug to number 1, Deebo Samuel.
There we go. I
yes,
see Deebo. He has the sun out on the field, too, warming up based on some of the videos that I'm seeing on social. And speaking of Deebo, Roost, who do you think has a more productive day statistically, Deebo or Terry?
My guess, D-Day, would be Deebo, because even though Terry and Jaden have that tremendous chemistry from last year and the knowledge and so on and so forth, I think Deebo's had such a good camp. Now, we haven't seen him a lot in the last 2 weeks because camp's been, it's no longer open training camp, but we know all three of us were out there a lot. Mm-hmm. They were humming. Now, that was before Terry. So, but I would also say this, Cliff Kingsbury and Jaden Daniels, I don't think have ever said, we've got to get Terry 15 targets. I don't think they approach the game that way. So to me, I presume like the new corner, Paulson Adebo, will get most of the assignment against Terry, and then you try and pick on Cordell Flatt or Deontay Banks, and especially if Deontay Banks is on the field. Right, because he's active.
So I was told he's going to be playing on third downs.
If and when he's on the field, whoever is the receiver there, that's where I'm testing. That's where I'm trying to go first and trying to work, because he stinks.
All right, Roos, we'll get you out of here on this one. Who wins?
Well, I got the Commanders winning 20-17, so I guess I've got the Giants covering the 6.5, depending on where you got it at.
Look at you,
I do think it'll be a close game. I do think it'll be a sloppy kind of, let's get the oil running through the engine game, and maybe we're looking at, 6-3 at the half or something like that. I'd be surprised if it's a boom, 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 boom game right out of the chute on offense. I'd be surprised. Again, can't rule that out, but I'd be surprised by that. I think it's kind of almost like a little, D-Day, you love this, a little slobber knocker.
Roost, we appreciate it, my friend. Enjoy whatever meal they have for you at lunch prior to your next hit, but we appreciate the time.
Thank you, boys. Appreciate you. Have a good show. Rest of the show.
That is indeed. Chris the Rooster Russell. You can hear him as the host of the Chris Russell Show, 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. every Monday through Friday on the Team 980. He was live from Northwest Stadium. In about 15 minutes, J.P. Finley is going to join us live from Northwest Stadium. I saw John Bernthal out there. He's one of the he's in the old school Sean Taylor jersey.
Love to see it.
So love to see it. And I don't know if this was a child or not, but I believe his son was in a black Jaden Daniels jersey, or just a kid that was standing next to him that had the Washington Commanders W shaped into the back of his head.
Ooh.
So that's a W dad move right there.
W Barber as well.
W Barber as well. The Junkies are going to swing by. They'll give us their thoughts on the game when we get back. It's the Burgundy and Gold pregame show with Denton, Lynnell, Willingham on the Team 980, 106.7 The Fan. It's the Burgundy and Gold pregame show with Denton Day and Lynnell Willingham on 106.7 The Fan and the Team 980. We're going to give you some gambling picks to close the show, along with the official game pick. JP Finley going to join us in about 10 minutes here. You may have heard about Fanatics' one-of-a-kind fair play injury protection. It's really the best in the game. Friday night proved that point. Kansas City and Los Angeles dueling in Brazil. Star receiver goes down in the first quarter with an injury. Not only did Fanatics fair play void all effective straight bets instantly, if that prop was part of your parlay or same-game parlay, your bet played on. No waiting around with your bets stuck in limbo. I got the numbers right here. On Friday night, Fanatics Sportsbook's fair play policy saved 37% of same-game parlays. That's legendary. It's over a third. This injury would have made you lose at most other sportsbooks. Why would you risk your bets if you don't have to? Fanatics first-half fair play all season long. Every game. Winning hits different at Fanatics Sportsbook. DC only, must be 21 plus. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Maryland, visit mdgamblinghelp.org. Not available in all states. Terms apply. See Fanatics Sportsbook's app for details. All right, the Junkies made some time for us on Friday to talk about this game and preview this Week 1 matchup. Fellas, how do you see this one going down?
All right, boys, it's finally here. Week 1 in the NFL. Washington with a home opener. They're going to honor Santana Moss at halftime. The fans are going to be fired up, and they're facing a New York Giants team that they beat twice last year, but the Giants a little bit better. Should this be an easy win for them, Cakes?
Easy win might be a stretch. It's a division game. Look, last year's wins against the Giants, they weren't easy. They were hard fought. We remember week 2 last year when Brian Daboll was dumb enough to bring a gimpy kicker in. I think it was Graham Gano.
It was.
And he couldn't kick in the game.
Right.
So, he had a hand tied behind his back throughout the entire game. Is it going to be easy? No. But do I think the Commanders are a better team than the Giants? Obviously. Look, this is a Giants team that was picking super high in the draft. That's why they're able to land stud pass rusher Abdul Carter at number 3. They've got 36-year-old now journeyman Russell Wilson leading the team until they're ready to replace him with Jackson Dart. They've got a brutal schedule to start. I think the Commanders are just better. Obviously, Jaden Daniels, he's got more weapons at his disposal now with Debo coming over. Austin Eckler's healthy. I like what they're trotting out there outside of Terry McLaurin. So I like the Commanders at home. Will it be easy? No. But do I think they win? Yes.
Won't be easy. Games against the Giants aren't easy. They weren't last year. The Giants were bad last year, certainly offensively, and they only won by combined 8 points. Not going to be easy, but they are better. There are some unknowns about Washington because we just didn't see a lot in the preseason. But it's not going to be easy. Like you said, division game, and the Giants' defense could cause problems, but Washington will win this game by 10.
Couple matchups to watch out for. Obviously, whoever lines up opposite Malik Neighbors, that's going to be massive. When it's Lattimore, when it's the rookie Trey Amos, occasionally it might even be Sanistril if they line him up in the slot. Who knows? The other thing to watch out for is how do we do against the run? We gave up almost 300 yards in the 2 games against the Giants last year. It was a big point of emphasis, bringing in Kinlaw, etc. Our front 7 has to do a better against the run so we can give ourselves a little distance here. And then obviously Connerly, how he matches up against the various weapons that they have along. They have guys, Burns, Thibodeau, Lawrence, that can get to the quarterback, and Connerly's going to be tested.
Don't be surprised if obviously John Bates or somebody like that helps chip with some of those guys coming in on Connerly making his first start against the Giants.
I think offensively they're going to be fine. This team scored a ton of points last year, and we know, at least on paper, they're better adding Tunsil, drafting Connerly, and adding Debo to the mix. It's going to be interesting to see what they do at running back. We had a debate on Friday's show. Scott Abraham came on the show and said that Austin Eckler, he thinks, is going to get the most carries. We're kind of skeptical there. So it'll be interesting to see what they do running the game. But, EB, you bring up a great point. Last year, look at that second game against the Giants. Giants ran for 164 yards in that game. Now, Daniel Jones was the quarterback, and he ran for 54 yards. But they had a problem stopping Tyrone Tracy and even Devin Singletary in the backfield. Yep. So it's going to be a big challenge. It's the first time we're going to see Kinlaw and some of those guys. All that being said, I think Washington outscores them. I think Jaden has a big game. I think he hooks up with Terry. Debo's going to find the end zone. And Jaden has a big game overall. 31-24. I like the Commanders to win in a bit of a shootout.
That's an over, but that's a big over.
I have them 27-17. So is that an over?
I think that's right around
Right
the
around
numbers.
it,
Pretty
yeah.
close.
That's tough math for us. I don't know if we can figure that out.
Math on the fly.
I'll take the Skins 27-21, but I do think it's a dangerous game, and they have to be careful, and I'd love to see them get off to a good start.
I have them winning 28-21. Commanders start the season off on the right foot with a division win at home.
There it is. The Junkies all picking the Commanders in week 1. Of course, you can listen to the Junkies from 6 to 10. Hopefully a victory Monday coming up after this week 1 matchup. Back to you, boys.
Appreciate it, fellas.
Yes.
The Junkies all picked a W. Chris Russell has picked a W. Danny Rouhier is the only voice we have heard from today, Lynnell, that has not picked a W. I would say that the vibes are very high right now.
Vibes are sky high. I told you I was first team all vibes when I walked in here. Fired up because it's the opener. I'm just ready to watch some football. But I've been saying it all week, and I think it's going to be a rock fight. Like, I don't think it's going to be super pretty. To me, this Washington offense has had a whole bunch of time on task in terms of the offensive line and their
Time
continuity.
on grass, maybe.
You know what I'm saying?
That's their new phrase. Everyone wants to be on grass.
You know what I'm saying? And for them in the run game, they haven't had enough time on task. And then at wide receiver, Terry McLaurin, Noah Brown, Jaden Daniels just hadn't thrown it to him a lot. It's a big reason why I think in terms of like pass catchers, and we'll give out some props a little bit later, Eckler, Debo, Zach Ertz, those to me are going to be the most featured guys there offensively.
Yeah, Terry. There's a video of Terry walking out onto the field for the first time.
Yeah, he's geeked
electric.
up. Yeah.
He is geeked up. He's jumping up around, waving his hands. He was signing some autographs. Like, Terry's happy to be there, man. It makes me happy.
I'm happy
to
he's
see
there.
him. Happy. He did walk in with what I believe was a new chain, and let me tell you, athlete diamonds are crazy, man.
Yes, they are.
Athlete diamonds are crazy.
That's
They're
that highest paid 30-year-old diamonds.
that's what that is, and I'm hoping he is the diamond in the rough today, maybe for Washington's offense.
sure.
If he can get into the end zone, I think things are moving really, really well because that means they're having success moving the football down the field. Again, this Giants defense is not a bad group by any stretch of the imagination, so this is not going to be a scenario like we saw in many other games last year where Washington puts up 40 points with ease, right? I don't know if that's going to be the case. This is going to be a hard-fought game. We will give you our official score predictions coming up here in about 20 minutes. We want you to start dropping yours in the chat. We see a couple people on YouTube who are already doing that. You can tweet us if you're just listening to us on the radio at the Denton Day, at NELL_BTP. If you are just listening to us on the radio and you're not at the football game, I do want to let you know we're going to be live on social media, on Twitter and YouTube at halftime and right as soon as the game ends. It's a new thing we're doing this year, so there's no more in-game show, but it's going to be your only live and local commercial-free halftime show. At the 2-minute warning, get to Twitter, get to YouTube. We're going to be live, fired up, reacting to the final 2 minutes, and then going all through halftime to give you our perspective on the game and getting a little bit of your perspective on the game as well. So be on the lookout for that. Follow us at 1067 The Fan and the Team 980. You can follow Lynnell and I as well at NELL_BTP at the Denton Day. When we get back, JP Finley live from Northwest Stadium to preview this matchup. Our picks coming up in 20 minutes here on 1067 The Fan and the Team 980. JP Finley is going to join us here in a matter of moments on the Burgundy Gold pregame show. He is Lynnell Willingham. I am Denton Day. The skies are now clear, Lynnell.
Yes.
The rain that was disrupting the morning is gone. I do feel like that means there could be a little bit more airing of the football out with JD5's arm.
I hope that's the case, but, for me, I think establishing the run is going to be huge, but he didn't throw one pass during the preseason. Does that concern you at all? Are you worried about that? Do you think about it?
So I do think about it. It concerned me from the point of I wanted to see him throw a pass because I wanted to see if someone could get open.
Right.
It did not concern me because they just marched right down the field. Yeah. And there wasn't a need to throw a pass, and they decided, hey, we're not going to have you go 2 drives. Like, you threw 1 touchdown, or you got 1 touchdown in the books. That's all we need. You're good. Take a rest. We don't need it because Joe Burrow was getting knocked around that game, and I was like, I don't need to see Jaden Daniels get knocked around. I am going to be curious as to who he throws to first, what direction he's looking in. Is it Terry, who is the wide receiver number 1, who just got that massive contract? Has he built up enough rapport with Debo to, for the first throw of the season, look his direction? Maybe it's Zach Ertz, because we haven't talked a lot about Zach Ertz on today's program. Zach Ertz, in being up close and personal at training camp this year, he is a master of creating space. Athleticism is certainly not at the peak of what it was in his career as he's getting older, but he is a master of creating space on routes. I would anticipate that Zach Ertz is going to get looked at very frequently by Jaden Daniels, and I think Cliff Kingsbury is going to call his number.
Yeah, he's part of this trio offensively that I expect to see a lot featured early and often. The sun's even peeking through D-Day. Let's go.
I need that. I need that.
Austin Eckler, Debo Samuel, Zach Ertz, like those 3 guys for sure. Talking to some folks, on the sidelines throughout camp, and then, getting to talk to, Zach himself at a point in time, they really, treated him differently this offseason. He feels a little bit more spry, and I think he is going to have a big-time year. And in terms of the opener, like, he may be one of the guys that's featured early.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe a little bit of John Bates action.
Who has improved as a pass catcher.
He has.
Throughout the course of camp, honestly. So that's another thing for me, too, that I'm like.
He's a sensational blocker. Like, I think more than anything, you're going to hear John Bates' name called a bunch because he's going to, especially if you're running Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, John Bates is going to be a guy that is just decleating guys on the defensive side. He's so good at getting out in space, putting a hat on a hat, as coaches say, although he just puts a hat into the ground. That's really what his specialty is.
I think him improving as a blocker is going to be huge, but you mentioned it earlier. If there's somebody that I'm leaning on saying, okay, like, help out the young pup, help out the rookie tackle Connerly, it's going to be John Bates, man. He spoke about it this week, about just the passion he's got for pass blocking, for run blocking, rather, and, how much pride he's taken into it, since he's gotten here. And I think when people are praising you about something that's kind of low-key and unseen, it makes you a little bit more geeked up to be more prideful with it. And, he is – I'm first team all vibes. He's first team all badass.
How much do you think they're going to help Connerly?
I think you got to. I think it'd be malpractice if you do not help him off of the rip. It's no slight to Josh.
Do you think there
either.
could be a scenario, though, where he doesn't need it?
I mean, you're not going to do it every snap.
Certainly not every snap, but do you think there's a scenario where he looks the part, and in the early portions, you're like, whoa, they got a guy.
Here's the benefit, too. Andrew Wiley didn't give up any sacks last year.
Yeah.
In part because he was the right tackle, and Jaden can see it wasn't on his blind spot. I think Josh Connerly going to be aided by that as well. But, yeah, I wouldn't be afraid to help him at all.
Let's go out to Northwest Stadium. Our guy JP Finley standing by. You can hear him be Mitch and Finley at 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., and he does everything else, a podcast, television. He's the most hardworking guy in the district. He's given us time here. JP, what's the feeling like out there at the stadium as I imagine fans are starting to trickle into their seats?
What's up, dude?
Yeah. Hey, what's up, fellas? It's definitely a good buzz here, man. When I got here, I don't know, 9:45 or so, the parking lots are already pretty full. A lot of Burgundy and gold, a lot of excitement. You always got a little bit of Giants fans, but it's a very good vibe in here, man. I think there's a lot of excitement for Santana at halftime too. So people are excited, and I think we're good. Honestly, week 1, after suffering through training camp and preseason and all the fake hype, to finally get a real game is exciting.
JP, how excited are you to see the debut of 2 of the bigger offseason acquisitions for Washington, Laramie Tunsil and then Von Miller, 2 dudes that didn't play at all during preseason?
Heck, you didn't even say Debo.
Well, he played during the preseason, that's why.
I got you. Very excited. I think Tunsil has been pretty damn dominant in training camp. What we've seen, what he did in New England was wildly impressive. And then, Von Miller we haven't seen much of, but I think Von Miller is the guy that gets the benefit of the doubt. And, I don't know if you guys heard this. This is a while back. He was on the Pardon My Take podcast, and he said he expects to play more here than he did in Buffalo. Buffalo, he got about a quarter of the snaps. I wonder if that's just kind of talk or if he's more of like a 35, maybe pushing 40% of the snaps. I'm really curious to find that out. And today's a big opportunity right away for him. Giants are down 2 tackles, including Andrew Thomas, a guy that, they kind of need. So very curious, this revamped Washington defensive line, even beyond Von Miller, but Kinlaw, Wise, Goldman, Martin, like what they can get going today.
Do you feel like the making of Javonte Jean-Baptiste inactive kind of alludes to what Von Miller said, that we'll see him much more than a quarter of the snaps?
I don't know that Javonte Jean-Baptiste's availability has much impact on Von Miller. I don't want to be like, I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but like I think Miller's going to get his snaps regardless of who. Some D lineman's going to be inactive. I don't think that's going to impact the plan for Von Miller.
JP, is there a matchup you're honed in on this afternoon?
I mean, Neighbors is the one dude for the Giants that scares you, right? He's the one dude that probably kept Joe Witt up last night. So I actually really liked their game plan last year, where they just kept everything underneath, and he had a bunch of catches, but it wasn't, it didn't dismantle the defensive game plan. Certainly get better quarterback play this year. The other thing is, are we going to see Dart? And what kind of scramble mode are they in that they're already stirring this? Because, let's be real, for that information to come out on the morning of week 1, like that's coming from the Giants. And are they just trying to do some subterfuge? Maybe. Or are they kind of letting, in their own way, hey, if we bench Russ, don't worry, it's just a package. And then if Dart looks great, they're not going back.
That package expands.
I mean? Right. Like, if you read Garofalo's report, like, you kind of listen to all of it, it's like, they'll depend on game flow and situation. Like, to me, that's like, all right, well, if it's 24-10 and our offense can't get first downs, we're making a switch, but we're letting everybody know in advance so it doesn't become this major Russ got benched headline. I find that pretty fascinating in that one.
Chris Rodriguez not being active today was a surprise to some on Twitter, JP. How do you anticipate that they're going to rotate the running backs today?
Dude, I think Bill's got a real chance. I think Eckler's role is pretty well defined. I mean, what do you want for offense? 10, maybe 12 touches. Nichols is kind of a special teamer. I think Bill's got a real opportunity, and it tracks with what our eyes told us throughout camp, where Bill looked really good. One of the biggest questions with Bill, and this could cut both ways, is he didn't play last year. So he could be really, really fresh, but he also didn't hit consistently, repeatedly in a while. So, and dude, I mean, he got banged up in the New England game, so it's going to be interesting to see.
I'll take it a step further. Every time he's played in a real football game, even after the scrimmage, he didn't participate in the team scrimmage. You saw him in that black non-contact jersey. So I'm wondering what the plan's going to be for the short yardage stuff, because DQ was pretty forthcoming that would be C-Rod. Do you think Jayden Daniels and Deebo Samuel are going to be the guys that really help you out in that category, trying to get on the perimeter?
I think Deebo could have a big role. I think thinking DQ is forthcoming and then the opposite happening is telling you how forthcoming he was.
Yeah, well, exactly.
I think, if we want to assign roles to these dudes about short yardage and goal line, are we sure that can't be Bill? Because I don't think they feel that way. And Nichols has honestly been decent in the red zone, too. I think the way most NFL teams run, these are all committees regardless. And I think this is going to be a committee where, at least early on, Bill's going to get the most carries. And if he stays healthy, I think that will be the plan. Or if he's ineffective, dude, because they got to see him. They loved him in the pre-draft process. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't an accidental 7th-round pick. They had him out to their top golf event.
Right.
So this is a guy they targeted, they like. He's looked quite good throughout the summer. You know, now it's time for the money on the table. Let's see what he's got.
That's it.
How much are they going to help Connerly, or are they just going to? Do you think they'll leave him on an island a little bit on obvious passing downs?
Well, I think it helps a lot that they feel pretty comfortable they can leave Tunsil on an island.
Right.
So he's got one of the best blocking tight ends in football. So you're rolling out 12 personnel. I think it's pretty easy to put Ertz out there with LT and then Bates on the other side. I think they're going to protect him. I thought they did a good job last year protecting Brandon Coleman. I think they have higher expectations for Connerly right away. But it's a fair question. We'll see. I think they don't believe they're going to have to hide anybody like they did last year. I think they think the whole group is better.
Prediction for you, but before I let you go, pal.
Well, I got to tell you guys, there's a shocking breaking news development here in the press box. Dan Steinberg is attending this game.
Wow.
I'm looking at it in the flesh.
That's how you know it's a big one.
It's a big one.
Nikki, I just broke the news that Steins is at a game, so I hope that's all right. I might need a photo. I'm saying it live on the radio, though, so the people know. All right, Steins is here. Confirmed. Prediction for the game, dude? I like them to win. I like them to cover. I think they're the better team. I understand division opponents. Like, I understand all of it. I think the Giants' offense is not if Russ plays the whole game, I think Washington wins this thing pretty handily. If Dart comes in and provides them some sort of spark that could be something different, I don't know. But I like their chances.
Appreciate you, JP.
All right, JP, we appreciate it, man. That is JP Finley. He is live from Northwest Stadium, giving us a little bit of the thoughts. I see a lot of burgundy and gold in some of the videos the pictures that are making their way onto social media, Lynnell. That's certainly very, very exciting. What is also exciting is giving away the official score prediction for you and for me. We have some bets for those that are degenerates as well. We give those to you when we get back. It's the final segment. We're 15 minutes away from kickoff between the Commanders and Giants from Northwest State. Don't go anywhere. 10 minutes away from kickoff. Week number 1. It's been 224 days since we have seen Jayden Daniels play a real meaningful football game. As we get closer, Lynnell, the vibes are starting to get better in the studio. I'm seeing videos from the field. I was curious, who's going to be the pregame speech guy now that John Allen's gone? Bobby Wagner, pregame speech guy today. He's a Hall of Famer. I'm getting amped up.
Can I give our pregame speech in here?
Give us a pregame speech.
Put on my church chords. Damn it. I mean, I am so ready to go. I told you how I get on game days. You know this from doing this with me the last 3 or 4 years, man. I am like a big ball of emotion, and now we're like, 9 minutes away from kickoff?
9 minutes
away. I'm doing
away.
things on the street. I have
on
no
top
clue
of that,
what's going
Santana's
on.
getting honored.
I know.
He's one of our favorite players when we were growing up because he was the only good player when we were growing up.
Man. It's one of them things that I always tell you, I hate going to games. I think it's much better to watch on TV. The vibes in there today, dog.
Kind of wish you were there today.
My gosh.
Yeah, it'd be fun one. It'd be a fun one to be at today.
Did you see the report? I think it was from Steinberg and Nikki in The Athletic that they added seats, bro, because they know like that place gonna be the place to be in the NFC, bro.
And they sold out. So they added
you.
the seats and they sold out. There was a couple. Man. They had like standing room only seats last year, which I don't want to stand for a football game. I went to one game last year. Vibes immaculate. It was against Cleveland, so not a huge amount of Browns fans. The wife was a Browns fan. I say was because guess what color she's wearing today? Burgundy and gold.
There we go.
She's wearing burgundy and gold.
There we go.
She is an official convert to the light side of the force. All right, we got 3 minutes here. I want your prediction, and if you have a couple of plays for our listeners and viewers to target from a gambling perspective, give me those as well.
Yeah, so watching Debo and Terry run out together and how fired up those two were, I think everyone's going to be fired up, and there's going to be a lot of nerves with this group. I've been flip-flopping all week. I think it's going to be a rock fight, though. Give me Washington, clearly. I'm going to up them on the points a little bit. Give me Washington 24-14 winning against the New York Giants. And if you're looking for a prop, Austin Eckler, if you're looking for alternate receptions, if you're on the FanDuel app, get his alternate receptions, get Zach Ertz alternate receptions. Those guys are going to get featured early and often offensively. Your choice in terms of like how many catches you think they're going to get, but I'm telling you, Ertz, Debo, Eckler are the guys that they're going to feature.
So I got one big prop. That's not the Luke McCaffrey thing. I am playing Luke McCaffrey anytime touchdown is 20-1. But outside of my bit of playing Luke McCaffrey anytime touchdown, Jayden Daniels longest rush over 15.5 yards. There's going to be at least a couple of plays. I'm hoping he does not have 16, 17 carries. But there's going to be a couple of plays where there's going to be a lot of space. He's going to tuck it. He's going to run. And he's going to get at least 16, maybe 20, who knows, even maybe more than that in the yardage department. So that's my favorite wager today on the game, prop bet-wise. Jayden Daniels over 15.5 for his longest rush. I got Washington winning this one. I have it a little bit closer, though. So you have them covering at 24-14. The line was 6.5. It's being played down a little bit to like 5.5, 6 at certain books. I have Washington winning this one by a score of 28-23. I think it's a late backdoor cover for the Giants. I think it's much more comfortable of a win than the scoreboard is going to suggest, but I do think we are going to see this offense in a really good form. I think the running game is going to be really, really solid for Washington, and I do think that you're going to see either a Deebo Samuel or a Terry McLaurin touchdown today. So I think the offense is going to look really, really good, and I think Washington starts 1-0 for the season. Not going to be a blowout, though. These bigger lines, like especially in week number 1, if you just look across the NFL, a lot of really short lines, so you're always kind of weary about the bigger lines. So I don't think that they're just going to dominate with, like, I saw someone tweeted us like 50-18. I don't think Washington's putting up 50 points today, although it would make my life a whole lot easier if they did. But I think Washington wins. You think Washington wins. I think we're starting 1-0, baby.
Danny
Reminder.
Ray, I hope you're wrong.
I hope you are wrong, Danny. We are back on social media for the halftime show at the 2-minute warning, the Team 980 1067's Twitter and YouTube account. We will see you then. Enjoy the game. Let's go 1-0 for the day, baby.